Okay, so lately there have been a lot of people who don't read comics and they only care about live action superhero movies. This topic is a big problem and it needs to be addressed. So all these people, they think they can walk into any conversation about Marvel versus DC or any conversation about Marvel and DC in general, and they argue and talk about it without ever reading a comic book. So many of these people, they only care about the movies and they completely ignore not just comic books, but animated universes, the TV shows, the video games. They ignore everything except live action movies. If you only care about these movies, then there's no point in talking about Marvel and DC. There is so much more to these two companies than just live action movies. If you talk about Marvel and DC, you are talking about companies that come from comic books. If you don't know about comic books, then you essentially don't know what you are talking about, where it came from. An example would be it's like debating about what the best meme is, but you have no idea where the memes come from and the context of the memes that you're arguing about. So when you argue about Marvel versus DC or talk about it, you're talking about companies that originated from comic books, and these characters, their origins and their character arcs come from comic books. So you're arguing about these, but you don't know about the comic books or about any other material. You don't know about the source material. You're debating, and all you know about is the live action adaptation of these characters, and so that's a problem. Personally, I'm a big fan of DC and Marvel, so it confuses me when people do things like this. It doesn't make sense to act like you know about DC and Marvel when you actually only know a fraction of what they are. If you talk about DC and Marvel or just superheroes in general, please know what you're talking about. You don't want to be the person to start talking about superheroes and then somebody points out you've never read a comic book and you don't know what you're talking about. And for all those people who say nobody reads comic books, they're for nerds. You don't actually care about Marvel and DC. You just want to see a movie with explosions. It's not even just the comic books. That's the worst part. They ignore everything. They ignore the animated universes, the comic books, the TV shows, the video games, and so that's a big problem. In conclusion, if you completely ignore everything except the live action movies, you shouldn't be talking about comic book characters. If you've never read a comic book, go read one. Yeah, this topic has been on my mind lately. Uh, it's pretty random, but I'm a geek and I like comic books and stuff. And people lately have been talking about Marvel and DC, but they haven't read the comic books. So this is a problem. Go read comic books. Have a good day. Goodbye.